In the beginning, humans wandered the physical world, marveling at the beauty that surrounded them, living peacefully amongst all the creatures that roamed the earth. As time went on, the people grew bored and restless. They began creating games within the game, making up rules and adding elements. At first, the idea of creating was practical, a way to solve the task at hand, while making the game easier and more fun. The people loved this idea of creating and began creating more and more things at faster and faster speeds. In time, they became consumed with their creations, losing sight of who they were and why they had come to Earth. Prior to coming to Earth, humans were given one law to follow: do no harm. Provided they lived by this law, they would experience peace, harmony, and happiness. Generation after generation, the values humanity lived by slowly got rewritten. The original values to respect the body and mind as your temple and Mother Earth as the sustainer of all life were gradually adjusted to benefit the games that the humans were creating. They adopted new values such as money equals power, purpose, and that beauty is created, not found naturally. Aligning to these new beliefs, the people began to frantically run around the game collecting coins so that they could achieve purpose, power, and beauty. As the years passed, the people fell into a deep trance, handing over much of their power for others to make decisions on their behalf. Many began creating and consuming things that were harmful to their minds, bodies, and the environment they lived in. They could see the damage and the suffering that their actions were causing, yet the hypnotic programs that they were under compelled them to continue. Many people became unhappy, anxious, depressed, and sick. The science and information age that the world had entered allowed the people to see that they were headed down a destructive path. Many people became afraid of the future, uncertain of what to do to change the headlines that they were reading. Some began to analyze their own lives, realizing that the goals that they were setting up for themselves would never offer them the fulfillment that they were seeking. They had grown tired of running around collecting money to buy things. They were beginning to see the cost to their mental, physical, and environmental health. They began to wake up to the fact that the game that they had been playing was threatening their very existence. They longed for peace and calm to return to their lives and to the world that they lived in. Out of the darkness, a light began to emerge. A group of people who united behind the belief that there was a healthier and more sustainable way of living. They began working towards the goal to do nothing to cause harm to mental, physical, or environmental health. They took personal responsibility for the impact they were having in the world and made small but meaningful steps in the direction of positive change. Each individual selected the goals and the time frame that worked for them in their lives. They shared their ideas and encouraged one another along the way. They realized that the happiness that they had been seeking did not lay outside of themselves, but came from within. As individuals gained contentment, peace, and well-being in their own lives, it began spilling out over into their relationships and into the world they lived in. At first, the changes were barely noticeable, But the changes were adding up, both individually and collectively. The trajectory that humanity had been on, that was leading them down the path towards suffering, began to slow. Then gradually, it changed direction, and a new world began to emerge. A world where the people treated their bodies and minds as their temple, and Mother Earth as the sustainer of all life. Humans once again lived peacefully amongst all the creatures of the earth, and everything began to thrive.